What's up, YouTube? So I had this customer probably like 2 months ago come here with a Frontier, and he had a cat efficiency code, some engine light codes, and we resolved the other codes, the cat efficiency code. And then I noticed that he had some suspension work done, and I'm not sure of the extent of it. And I said, wow, didn't have a cotter pin in the upper ball joint, so I double nutted it for him, only because that was the fastest thing for me to do. So then he comes back for a suspension to change the left lower ball joint. Well, someone's already changed the left lower ball joint. And then Caleb went for a ride, he heard a noise, and then I just did a brief inspection. Then I went for another road test, and then I drove over our curbs, because like 6 or 8 inch up and down drop. I heard some noise on the right front. And then Caleb, Mr. Muscles over here, so that upper control arm is definitely shot. And then I noticed also, Caleb, if you look here, that the rebound bumpers are scuffing constantly. Yeah. So that tells me the front springs are definitely, yeah, shake it. Okay, let's go on the other side. Turn it. I mean, shake it.
Up and down, side to side.
Same way, up and down first. So that upper control arm's definitely bad. And maybe they put one strut in this?
Why?
I can't tell. I mean, I don't know. That's all I could find right now. I mean, this bump stop here, maybe that's from them beating on it, but you turn that wheel all the way to lock. I want to see something.
Which way?
All the way in. Go the other way? Okay, alright. So the hammer marks on the knuckle are from whoever was doing the ball joint job. Once you start hitting 140,000 miles on your vehicles, just doing one part of the suspension is not a fix, because everything else is soon behind it. I watched a Master Tech called the car maintenance nut or something. Looks like a Dominican, speaks real good English, maybe Puerto Rican, who cares, whatever, just saying. He was a master Toyota tech for, I don't know, 30 years, and then now he has his own giant shop, specialized in Toyotas only. And then he had a customer buy a Sequoia, I know 2000 with 200,000 on it, and he was going over all the stuff like we go over, like, oh, the body rot and this, that, and all the warning signs of cars not to buy, right? So he opens the, he walks around the car and he's like, oh, you know, the wheels got a little bit of this, got brand new tires, the headlights are a little discolored. Then he opens the door and he says, oh, look at this, the master window switch, right? The button's broke. He's like, that's one. Gas tank release door handle, cable's just hanging out, that's 2. Seats are all ripped up, that's 3, but the car looks nice, right? And runs. Then he walks back here, he opens the door, he shows that the felt's worn on the inside, so that's like 4, right? What he didn't say anything was about inside of here, that I think he was alluding that to show the better side. Like on my Sequoia where it was rotted out and I repaired it on the body. He's walking around the back. He's like, oh, look, the plastic's cracked. The cable for the handle's hanging out. So it's 5. He goes, so this is telling you this guy never fixes anything. And he's right? The customers come in, their car's smashed up, the hood it's all fucked up, the mirrors are taped on, the door handles are busted off. They're the customers that don't fix anything. So then he keeps going, he walks around, he opens the other side, shows that there's a little bit of corrosion in there, but the customer's already wowed because the interior is not so bad and the car is clean. And then he's like, okay, now let's just put it up in the air. And he's like, oh, look at this, the valve cover's are weak. And oh, look, the rack and pinion, it's not just the hose, the rack and pinion's rusted through the clamp and passing through it through there. And then he's like, oh, wow, someone actually put some calipers on it. Then he gets to the back, the whole rail in the back's rotted out underneath. And he's like, Toyota's engine that's in my Sequoia was their bulletproof best engine. He goes, this vehicle belongs in the junkyard, and never buy a vehicle without someone doing a pre-inspection before you buy it. And it was bad. Like, he didn't really dissect that part of the frame. Like, it might have a little spot here, a little spot there. The boxes on the suspension here, there's nothing left. The box in the back, there was nothing left. Like, they would have towed with it, they would have ripped it out. But you need a pre-inspection. I didn't mean to get off subject. And also, with that Mercedes, so obviously when you work for Ford or Chevy or Mercedes or Hyundai or Kia, you guys already have the inside scoop. The master tech's going to bleed down his information if he wants you to know. Follow me? The lower guys aren't usually dealing with engine work and timing chains and shit like that. It's all A-Tech stuff or master tech stuff. But I called my master tech for Mercedes yesterday. I said, I'm losing my mind here with this CLA 230. I said, I'm not an idiot. I've dealt with some stubborn cars to bleed it out. And he said, Anthony, what did you do to the car? I said, well, it came in with a blown coolant bottle hose. And then once we fixed that, we filled it up. We found that something behind the motor was pissing really bad. Turned out to be a blown apart thermostat housing, which was like ding, ding, ding to me. I'm like, all right, why'd this car get so hot and pressurized? But people are so ignorant to what's going on, they just drive them until they can't drive it anymore, which is stupid. You have a major problem. You see a warning light, pull over and shut it off immediately. Could save you thousands of dollars. So I spent 3 hours trying to bleed it out, vac it, raise the vehicle, fuck around with it, do this, do that. So my Mercedes guy goes, Anthony, I don't even work on those cars. I wouldn't, if it came into my shop, I would tell them to go to Mercedes. Now here's a Mercedes tech. Man, he's been working on Mercedes for probably close to 40 years. And that's all he does is Mercedes specialist, so I won't even work on that car. So Mercedes already knew that if a customer came in with a blown coolant hose, that it needs a thermostat housing, thermostat, and a vacuum variable water pump,
Which is underneath the timer.
which is inside, which is a joke. I didn't even look up the labor time, but I think he said it was like 8 hours just to do it. So we're gonna look anyway.
He said 8 hours.
He told me 8 hours, and he said, Anthony, you should just pull coolant in that after a vacuum. It should bleed out with no problem. But what they did is they used vacuum, I guess, to tell that the engine's under demand, right? Which is, right? So the water pump at idle's kind of spinning with engine vacuum, right? So the engine vacuum's gonna, like the variable turbos, there's a cup that covers the impeller vane. It's really not that bad.
He said that's an 8-hour job.
It's 4, 5. It could be, yeah. I'm saying, you're saying 4, and we don't do it every day. And then, are you doing the auxiliary pump too? That would be 5. And then,
Good.
you know, an hour for bleed and fill maybe? Oh, maybe he meant 8 hours between the coolant hose, the thermostat housing, because he did say, did you pull the intake off to do the thermostat? And we did, so, right, so water pump, thermostat, and hose, 8-hour job with bleed and fill. And Mercedes, $200 an hour, so that's $1,600 just in labor, not coolant, not bolts, not this,
And not another 800 in parts and service.
So we were right. So they probably were told it's $3,000 to fix your overheating Mercedes. But even my Mercedes guy said, I won't even work on those cars. And I don't blame you. Because you have to put OEM back on, right? Because how can you trust aftermarket with a vacuum diaphragm for a variable water pump? You can't. You can barely trust aftermarket shit as it is. I can't believe so many people out there are putting aftermarket timing chain parts on cars. I can't believe it. And they're not saying anything. Actually, one guy did who works for Ford. He's the master tech there, and he has a killer channel. It's Ford Movatech. He will not use any internal aftermarket parts on an engine. 0. He said he sees people who do them with Dorman and all this other kits and spend $2,000 or more at other shops and can't get it right. He has to go back in there and take all that shit off and put OEM on.
Well, when we did the timing belt on the hatch, that was an aftermarket kit.
Belt.
Belt?
Timing chain components way different.
Okay.
Yeah, belt. And I've had some timing belts that were weird. I had to stretch a little bit and fight with to get them perfect. Trust me, they're not perfect. And especially if the cylinder head's been decked, a machine or a block's been decked, you don't know. I mean, you're trying to line your timing marks up and the belt's a little weird. You know the tensioner should be tighter and it's a little looser. You know, I've probably done hundreds of Honda timing belts. You know.
Well, they're easy.
And then we did that one that fits really well on that
The Kia?
the Kia 3.5 or whatever it was. All right, we got to get back to work. We got a lot of shit to do.